USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veterans' stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another, and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
Good morning. I am Ben Brands, a historian with the American Battle Monuments Commission. It is my pleasure to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for today's dedication of the Merchant Marine inscription stone. Please rise, if you are able, for the presentation and retiring of the colors by the Castro Valley Veterans of Foreign Wars Mickey Ganich Memorial Post 9601, and the playing of our national anthem by the Band of the Golden West from Travis Air Force Base. I first would like to acknowledge a few individuals in attendance. Dru DiMattia, President of the American Merchant Marine Veterans, Rich Rusnak, Chief Business Officer of the Presidio Trust Board, and a very special welcome to 4 World War II merchant mariners, Frank Mendez, Charles Mills, Claude Parasso, and Dave Yoho. The merchant marine relationship with the American Battle Monuments Commission began following the Second World War. ABMC cares for and administers 26 cemeteries and 31 monuments in 17 countries, including the U.S., where we honor America's armed forces and preserve their legacy of service and sacrifice. Nearly 125,000 U.S. war dead are buried in our cemeteries. We also commemorate by name on walls of the missing more than 94,000 Americans who were listed as missing in action or were lost and buried at sea during the World Wars and the Korea and Vietnam War. More than 500 of the World War II dead buried at ABMC cemeteries in Europe and the Pacific are merchant mariners. ABMC's East Coast Memorial in Battery Park, New York, at the tip of Manhattan, commemorates those who lost their lives in service of the nation in the coastal waters of the Atlantic Ocean. When the memorial was dedicated by President John F. Kennedy in May of 1963, the Merchant Marine was not included on the memorial. But in 1991, an inscription was added to the base of the memorial's eagle sculpture, honoring the merchant mariners who lost their lives during World War II. 13 years later, in May of 2004, ABMC dedicated the World War II Memorial on our National Mall in Washington, D.C. The Merchant Marine seal is memorialized in bronze on the two flagpole bases flanking the memorial, represented equally with the seals of the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Army Air Forces. 2 years ago, Dru contacted ABMC and asked when the Merchant Marine would be added to this memorial. ABMC's Board of Commissioners had approved such an addition in 1992, but for unknown reasons it was never completed. Today, on this spectacular site in the Presidio, overlooking the Pacific Ocean and the Golden Gate entrance to San Francisco Bay, through which so many merchant marines have sailed, we correct that oversight. The East Coast and West Coast memorials have similar purpose, memorializing those who lost their lives in the coastal waters of the United States during the Second World War. Is it appropriate? It is appropriate in this 80th anniversary year of our victory in World War II, a victory won in large part through the service and sacrifice of our nation's merchant mariners, that both of our Commission's coastal memorials now commemorate that sacrifice. Thank you again for being with us on this special day. And I should add that it is no coincidence that we dedicate this inscription stone on National Maritime Day. I now invite Rich Rusnak, the Chief Business Officer of the Presidio Trust, to the podium.
Good morning. And I have to say, I think it's worth just a look around at what a spectacular morning this is. This is one of my absolute favorite spots in the park. It is absolutely gorgeous here, and how lucky are we to have a morning like this. My name is Rich Rusnak, Chief Business Officer for the Presidio Trust. I am grateful for this opportunity to welcome you to the Presidio today and to participate in the dedication of this memorial to honor the service of the Merchant Marine. As we look out to the Pacific Ocean, I cannot imagine a better site to honor the mariners. I'd like to recognize the World War II veterans who have joined us today. We are deeply, deeply grateful for your service to our country and absolutely thrilled to have you with us here today. Today, the Presidio is a national park site, but for almost 150 years, it has served as an important military post. It played a role in every major American conflict, from the Civil War through Desert Storm. Generations of soldiers have served here, and many are buried in the Presidio at the San Francisco National Cemetery. The Trust took over management of the Presidio after the U.S. Army departed the base in 1994. And since that time, we've worked to restore and enhance the Presidio and share its rich history with the public while making the park financially self-sufficient. Much of the revenue that we earn comes from rehabilitating and leasing the Presidio's historic military buildings, bringing them back to life as homes, workplaces, and visitor destinations. We are stewards of the park, but we are also stewards of its important military history. The Presidio hosts one of only 3 ABMC monuments in the United States. We are committed to providing the highest standard of care and maintenance for the memorial in close partnership with the American Battle Monuments Commission. There are a total of 8 military memorials in the park, including the Korean War Memorial, the Monument to the Unknown Soldier, and the D-Day Memorial. And the largest Memorial Day commemoration in the entire Bay Area takes place here at the San Francisco National Cemetery, drawing thousands of attendees every year. I hope you'll return to the Presidio to visit this memorial or one of the many peaceful sites for reflection located throughout the park. So on behalf of the Trust, I thank you for allowing us to participate today. It is our privilege and honor to be a part of this important dedication.
Thank you, Rich. Our next speaker will be Dru DiMattia, President of the American Merchant Marine Veterans.
Good morning. We gather to pay homage to those who didn't make it back from the home in the Pacific Theater of Service, providing that vital supply chain to our military and crucial humanitarian aid to our allied forces. We are here to answer a question, as we have heard it called out many, many times before. Who tolls the bell for us? And we honor these World War II mariners with us here today that served that incredible arsenal of democracy. World War II mariners Frank Mendez, the Honorable Claude Parasso, Charles Mills, and Dave Yoho. We thank them for their service. The sea has shown no mercy over the years, but today we look at the merchant mariners of World War II and how these men and women served and died for their country. How many perished? How many ships were lost? The Merchant Marine were sustaining losses in ships and crew almost a year before the war started. In World War II, the United States Merchant Marine lost over 730 ships. There was recruitment of 243,000 young men in their teens to serve on these ships, with over 9,000 civilian losses. Killed in action, over 12,000 were wounded, 609 captured, and 54 died in prisoners of war camp. As you look at those casualties, 1 in 26 per capita were killed, a very high casualty rate. We remember the tragedy on December 7th, 1941, and we honor the still buried men of the USS Arizona in Pearl Harbor. Did you know on that same day the SS Cynthia Olsen, homeported here in San Francisco, was torpedoed by a Japanese submarine, I-26, at about 1830 hours, 1,200 miles west of Cape Flattery, Washington. With a full load of Army supplies, her complement was 33 crew and 2 U.S. Army privates. The SS Cynthia Olsen was the first ship sunk by the Japanese sub and out there in the Pacific Theater under a charter of the U.S. Army Transport Service. All hands were lost, not a trace found. We must never forget them. Who today knows about the SS Hobbs Victory, sailed independently from San Francisco on February 25th, 1945, with a load of U.S. Army ammunition bound for Okinawa? Her complement of crew was 56 merchant mariners, 27 Navy Armed Guard. The SS Hobbs Victory arrived in the morning of April the 6th at harbor of Kiroramo, Retto, the fleet anchorage of the logistics base near Okinawa. At 18:45, a kamikaze smashed into the ship, toward a number forward lifeboat at the deck level, causing a huge explosion. Impacting the engine room, all hands were immediately lost. According to the accounts of the survivors, the entire port side of the house was engulfed in flames, which spread to the number 4 hold. After 30 minutes of trying to put the fire out, the captain ordered abandon ship. 11 crew and 2 Navy Armed Guard were killed. It included a deck cadet from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, Alexander Walker Harris, 19 years of age. The U.S. Service Academy at Kings Point is still supplying officers in this industry. That particular time of war, 142 cadets were killed from the U.S. Service Academy. It gave him the authorization from the Department of Defense to fly what they call the Battle Standard Flag, 142. It's the only service academy in our country authorized to do such. 4 of the Hobbs Victory crew called San Francisco home. Fireman water tender Eugene Patrick Tibbs, only 18 years of age. Messman Fred Shearnan. Electrician John Ditton Alford. Second engineer Archie John Fletcher. And on a very somber note, folks, one of the surviving officers of the Hobbs Victory, World War II, John Loughton, Big John they called him, just crossed the final bar last night. We were expecting him to be here. His loving family of 15 passed the word to us last night at 8:45. Big John crossed the final bar. A few years ago, on May 22nd, National Maritime Day, the MC up in Pennsylvania reviewed the exploits of the Merchant Marine of World War II and ended his remarks by asking, "Tell me, shipmates, who tolls the bell for us?" He answered his question by saying, "We do. We do here today." And he was saying that the Merchant Marine of World War II was not just forgotten. What they did to help win the war was virtually unknown. We compliment the American Battle Monuments Commission for all they do to remember all who have paid the ultimate sacrifice, as their vision statement resonates. Time will not dim the glory of their deeds. God bless the men and women of the armed forces, and may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. And now I have the pleasure of inviting one of our veterans of the Second World War, Merchant Mariner Dave Yoho, to share a few words on behalf of his comrades.
An unassuming, wisdomatic spokesman once said, "Of all the words of voice or pen, the saddest are what might have been." This is a great country, and as I stare out at this vision that I see, I am humbled by what is behind me. Each one of these names had a family. Each one of these names had a history. Each one of these names was important to many people, yet they gave up their privilege and were killed in some form in a state of war. It was December 7th, 1941. By the time I was 15, I was in a school with older guys, and they were going away to war. This was a patriotic country. It may never happen again. That we loved our country. We loved our flag. And we were in the middle of a depression, just coming out of it. And we loved God for giving us the privilege of being part of the United States of America and doing a part, a favor. At 15, under a falsified birth certificate, I went and passed the test. I volunteered for the United States Navy. I passed the test, and they found out that the birth certificate was not legal. And I came home from school, and the police were at my house and told my parents that I had been a truant and I had enlisted, and they found out. My parents didn't take this too well, and my father hit you first and then asked the question what you did. But I was determined, and at 15 I volunteered for something called the United States Maritime Service. Never heard of it, never been out of the city of Philadelphia, and never had heard of it. And here it was, something passed by a law 2 or 3 years earlier by a benevolent President, Roosevelt, who thought of this country and what it might come to be, and as such established the United States Maritime Service. You were recruited, trained in academies. There were 3 of them in the United States, one in California, one in Florida, and the one I served in Sheepshead Bay, New York. People won't often ask me in the radio or television interview, did you ever think it was a mistake to do this at 15? I said, yes. I said, when did you discover it? The day I got there. See, when you're a child, and I was a child at 15, I thought I knew everything, but when you're a child, you believe everything is possible because you are capable of accomplishing anything that is possible. So as I wrap up, I would like to thank you all for coming, each of you. because it is in our preaching and our teaching and our believing that we were sent here for a purpose. And God had a purpose for you to hear me today. I don't mean you're privileged to hear me. Here's what I'm saying. I'm going to be 97 in about 4 to 6 weeks. And I never say when I die, I always say if I die. Now, that principle is what kept us alive. We were left out of the GI Bill. Don't spend any time complaining what you don't get. They gave it to us in 1988, admitting it was a mistake 43 years after the war ended. I was in my 60s, and they gave me the... But I love my government. I love my flag. I love what it means to our country. I love what you mean to the country. You had other things you could have done today, and you get out and come here, and it's a little cool, it's a little uncomfortable, but you came here in appreciation and to pay homage to those who gave their life for the noble effort of saying, we were American veterans. And I leave you with this. There was an old hymn called Londonderry Air, and in 1932 or 30, some barrister wrote, an English barrister wrote the words to it, and it talks about a boy leaving his home to go to war, and his father lamenting and call him Danny boy, oh Danny boy, the pipes are calling and you must go or you must stay. That's the words. Now I've taken the last stanzas of it, and I've paraphrased it to end my talk to you today, and it goes like this. It is the veteran talking, who says, what should I return? And the guns of war are silenced. And yet I am dead, as dead I well may be. Please, please come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave, a prayer for me, and I shall hear, though soft you tread above me, and in my tomb 'twill warm, and softer be if you'll not fail to tell me that you honor me. Then I will sleep in peace for all eternity. And as you go your way this day and you speak with others, tell them about the site. Tell them about you and why you came. And then tell them about us. And say of us, we gave up our youth. We gave up our young life for them, for you. And if they say to you who spoke these words, say to them, there was a 16-year-old boy in the heart, mind, and spirit of an American war veteran at 97 years of age. God bless America, God bless this great country, and God bless the United States Merchant Marine. Hurrah!
Yoho!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I now invite Dru DiMattia and Dave Yoho to place a wreath in remembrance, which will be followed by the playing of taps and a benediction.
If I might take one moment of privilege to lift before you the name of my uncle, Seaman First Class Robert G. Romaine, who aboard the gas tanker U.S. Pet New York, carrying gasoline from Galveston, Texas to Glasgow, Scotland, died when the ship was torpedoed on October 19th, 1942 in the North Atlantic. God of our every journey, as we have come together for a sacred purpose, we leave now to live in faith, hope, and love. We live with the knowledge, as this ceremony has reminded us, that we are surrounded by those who labor while we sleep, who journey while we are safely home, who face risk that we might live in comfort. For them, for their sacrifice, we would always be grateful, we would always be mindful. Guide us all in your way and lead us all safely home. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our official dedication ceremony. The inscription stone we dedicated this morning is a simple design, but the remembrance of sacrifice it represents is profound. Thank you for participating in this ceremony, and I now invite you to take the shuttle buses back to the Disney Museum for a reception. Thank you.